In recent times, clicker training has been really dumbed down. The clicker has simply become a noise that means food, a distraction technique. You'll see it a lot with reactivity training. Click the button to distract the dog and they get some food. I would say that if the dog will take food to avoid reactivity, then just use the food. Clicker training in its purest form is a marker. It's a marker that tells the dog in a precise moment in time that they've done the right thing, and it really taps into a dog's natural instincts for problem solving. It teaches them to work to get the click. So in this series of videos, we're going to introduce you correctly to clicker training, how to pair the clicker with your dog. It's a train along. You and your dog can join in at home. Feel free to ask any questions in the comments section below. And then moving forward, we'll show you how to blend it into further areas of your dog's training or behavior. So what will you need for clicker training? Well, obviously you're going to need a clicker, and we provided a link in the description below for the one that we use. You're also going to need a dog that has some form of food drive. Ideally, we'd like to be working with a dog that will eat its own kibble when we're working with it. I am aware that most dogs that isn't the case though, so the dog we're using for this series of videos hasn't got huge drive for kibble. Now, the dog we're using will eat loads of these. He loves treats, but that isn't good for him, so I'm not going to use those, and I would advise that you kind of do the same. So what we're going to use is human grade chicken. It can be broken down into lots of little parts, which means we can get a lot of use out of one piece of chicken, and this bit of chicken isn't going to ruin your dog's appetite. What I'm going to do before we get Vito in here to train is just explain the concept of what I'm doing. It's a lot easier for me to do that without the dog in front of me. What we want Vito to do is to learn to solve a problem, and that when he solves a problem, it makes that sound and the food is released. So we're not simply using the clicker to say, here's food, here's food. Vito from the very first stage is going to be working for that food. So what I'm going to do, a simple exercise, I'm going to create a scent pattern, this massive bit of food in my hand, and I'm going to have my hand shut. Vito will stick his nose on my hand. I'm not going to release the food, I'm going to frustrate him. Eventually, he will do one of two things. He'll either turn his head towards me or he'll glance towards me. Either way, when they look at you or glance at you, you click and you release a bit of food. You don't give them all the food. You simply release a little bit and then shut your hand again, and we're going to repeat the exercise. And what we're looking for is the dog to start recognizing it's the eye contact, the focus that creates the click and therefore opens the vending machine. So without further ado, let's introduce Vito to this training session. Vito, here. What a good lad. How you doing? Right, no swearing, you're live on camera. So, as I said before, we've got a massive scent target here, and this is going to present a problem for Vito to solve. So if I put that right over there, he's licking at it, and what I'm looking for is some kind of frustration focus where he actually looks at me instead of trying to lick the chicken out of my hand. So there's plenty of things I can do to make this work for me. I want Vito to solve the problem. There we go. He looked at me. I've released some food. And then we go back to stage one. There we go. He's a smart dog, Vito. He'll pick this up quite quickly, I feel. Now, hopefully from over there, you can see his head turn towards me. And the more we do this, the better understanding he has of solving the problem. And he's learning how to use the vending machine. But it's not a freebie vending machine. You actually have to put money in this one. And that's the biggest problem, I think, with what I've seen of clicker training online at the moment, is they're basically just using the clicker to give the dog food. The dog's not learning anything apart from the sound means food. Vito's actually using his brain here to solve a problem. And moving this training forward, we can get him to solve lots of different problems to our advantage. We can create patterns of behavior that we want. But before we create those patterns of behavior, he has to understand the concept of the game, of the training exercise of the clicker. So that's that one bit of chicken gone for Vito. As with any dog training, high frequency, short duration, lots and lots of reps is the best way to create patterns of behavior, create the muscle memory that we want. Much better to spend 5 minutes doing this several times a day than kind of 1 hour solid. You're doing 1 hour, your dog's going to get bored with the food. It's not healthy for them. So we'll be coming back to this in about an hour's time. So this is Vito's second session. We're about an hour and a half on from the first one that you've just seen. Important to remember that we're laying foundations here, and like with any foundation, we need to spend time on it. It's really important that we do lots of sessions and we don't rush ahead. We make sure that we get this bit right, that we imprint the right behavior, that he understands what he needs to do to get the click, that he needs to work, that he needs to solve problems to do that. So moving on, we've got our target and we're just going to repeat what we did this morning. There's the target. How'd you solve that problem, Vito? You do that. You're a good boy. So I'm going to let him eat a little bit. He can just about get his mouth onto that chicken. I'm allowing him to take a little bit of it. There we go. Now Vito's picking this up very quickly. Don't worry if you're not getting the same results if you're training along. If your dog is just glancing at you, then mark that behavior and reward them. They will move on to moving their head as they grasp the concept. So moving forward, I'm just going to adjust the game, make it slightly harder for him, which just reinforces that looking at me is the right thing. So I'm kind of tempting him away from me so that looking at me is over-exaggerated. And that reinforces in his mind that looking away from the food towards me is the way to get the food. Good. So we're coming to the end of this training session for Vito now. Probably got about another 8 to do. I'll get Alfie to time-lapse them for you so that you don't have to watch it all in real time. It's basically a repetition of what you've seen in these first 2 videos. If you come across any problems or you've got any questions, pop them in the comment section and we'll answer them. And we'll see you in a few sessions' time. You will notice I'm changing the position of my hand and the food in it periodically. This is so I'm certain that Vito isn't just repetitively moving his head and that he's actually making a conscious decision to look up to me. So this is Vito's 7th session. I did say at the start it'd probably take about 10 to create the right foundation to move forward with clicker training. But look, he smashed this out, which is fine for him. If your dog's not up to this point, then keep going. You can do 10 sessions, 15 sessions, even 20, whatever it takes until you're really certain the dog understands the concept of what we're doing. Moving forward, Vito's ready for us to actually use the clicker to train him to do a trick. And that's what we'll focus on in our next video. Hope you've enjoyed this video. If you have, hit the like button. And if you don't want to miss out on the next stage of clicker training, then hit the subscribe button with the notifications switched on. Any questions, pop them in the comment section and we'll answer them.